Welcome to World Travel Made Easy with Itinerary Boss, the podcast for busy professionals, entrepreneurs, and business owners who want to travel smarter, save money, and plan unforgettable trips without the stress. I'm Ross, your host and the founder of Itinerary Boss. I spent a decade building a career in healthcare, software, and medical device sales while planning both personal and business trips across more than 20 countries. Whether it was group getaways with friends, couples trips, or just mapping out business territories, I became the go-to person for saving money on flights, organizing those logistics, and using points to elevate the experience. Now, as an entrepreneur and business owner, I help others do the same by showing you how to travel better using points, smart planning, and those proven strategies. Each week, we bring you expert guests, step-by-step tutorials on points and miles, and real-world itineraries that we've used to help you plan with confidence. Whether it's using points to travel better, exploring a new destination, or just learning how to maximize your spending, we've got you covered. Before we dive in, go ahead and grab one of our free tools in the show notes. One, the points and miles cheat sheet that'll help you get started earning and redeeming points to save thousands on travel, or the stress-free travel toolkit that includes a budget guide, packing checklist, and planning tips to save you time and hassle. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or busy professional looking to choose your next credit card or get help maximizing your everyday spending for rewards and booking free travel, book a free one-on-one consultation. You can find the link within the show notes or head over to itineraryboss.com. And if this episode helps you, please share it with a friend or family member, follow the show, and leave a 5-star review. It's the best way that helps us grow. Now, let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to another episode of World Travel Made Easy. On this week's episode, I'm excited to have on Kelley Halpin. He is the CEO and founder of Mesa, and I'm extremely excited to have him on because we've been waiting for about 6 years to get a credit card that gets points for you on your mortgage. And when I heard him go on one of my favorite podcasts, I had to get him on here. So really excited to have him. Hey, Kelley, how's it going?
Great, man. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here as well.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And it's always funny when you start chatting with guests, it's a small world. The fact that we both grew up in Leesburg, Virginia, and just all of that is shocking.
Yeah, it is very much a small world. So um, appreciate you having me on.
Of course. But yeah, no, would love to hear a little bit more about, Mesa, the credit card you guys recently have come out with, and really how you guys are focusing in on homeowners and families.
Totally. Yeah. So, I think, Mesa came out of, my time working in consumer finance, which sounds like, you know better than me. Just, you're always looking at where people spend their money, how do you kind of give the most value to that consumer? And when you're doing that, you realize just how much money people are spending on their homes. And so ultimately, that's the problem we want to solve, what we call the home cost crisis, which is that home ownership in the US is unfortunately now unaffordable, right? It is your mortgage payment alone is going to be a third of your income as a homeowner, and that's going up every year. As a nation, we spend over $8 trillion on home ownership, which is twice what we spend on healthcare. So we believe the way to solve that problem is with our category, what we call homeowner membership, where if you sign up and join Mesa, we're going to give you value back for every dollar that you do spend on your home. And we do that by bringing the credit card reward and benefit structure that people love to all of the financial products and all of the spend for homeowners that have traditionally never had it before, right? It could be your mortgage payment, it could be getting a mortgage, and so that could be our card. And so the Mesa Homeowners Card, which is the first premium card built for the modern homeowner, rewarding them where they spend their money, on their home, their everyday spend of gas and groceries, your mortgage payment, and that's in addition to a bunch of great benefits from partners like Lowe's and Thumbtack that we've been able to bring that just, again, give a lot of value back to that homeowner where they're spending their money. It could be our mortgage business. So, we, as part of the Mesa Mortgage, can give you 1 point per dollar on a loan if you get a mortgage through us, a new mortgage or refinancing. And so, again, that's a huge slug of value that you can get for, the biggest purchase of your life. And so, those are sort of the first two things we're doing. But again, we want to bring credit card style benefits rewards to all of those financial products for homeowners because that's going to help us make homeownership more affordable and rewarding.
Yeah, no, it's a huge need. And I mean, you bring up so many good points just around that is where the bulk of people's, I mean, a third of their spend goes. And especially it's not like when it was 2020, 2021, when rates were at, 2, 3%, where it was, hey, I can go get this. Now it is getting more unaffordable. And with, equity going up, just housing prices going up. I mean, that it's awesome that you then can benefit from it. What I want to kind of step back before we dive into more of just the details, but like what made you obviously just how unaffordable housing is at the time, but what made you just dive in and launch Mesa from the ground up?
Yeah, I think one, this is a big burning problem that, needs to be solved, for our country and beyond. And so, you think about where you want to invest your time. Like this is something that I think is a very worthwhile cause that will get a lot of really smart people to come and want to be a part of it and help us solve it. If we're able to do that, not only is it going to be a huge successful business, but also going to be very good for all of the customers, all of our partners, and I think for America more broadly. So that to me was enough to do the crazy thing of starting another company.
I love it. I love it. What was your before, like, what was your background prior to Mesa that just gave you really the just being able to just go and start it?
Yeah, well, you can argue that's either crazy or a good thing. But yeah, have always been in the startup world. So just, was very lucky and got a job at Uber back in the day when that was still kind of mostly a black car company and just kind of applied and was lucky enough to get to work there. And so, that kind of got me into startups and really taught me to be an entrepreneur. Uber just had this very special, very entrepreneurial culture at the time. And then I was lucky enough to start a couple of companies since. And so, you always kind of learn what to do better, what mistakes not to make. And then, particularly spending time in consumer finance, you learn about how these products work, just like how big the opportunities are. You see where there's some gaps in the market. And really, when you think about credit card points and loyalty and benefits and things like that, it's all very travel and dining focused, which makes sense. That was sort of the first iteration of these programs and has been very successful. All those programs in minute detail far better than I do. But they're all very tailored to that kind of business traveler. And we saw this homeowner as this equally interesting demographic that's also high income, high FICO, high spend, but just has different needs and different wants and different brands they care about. So it's kind of an evolution of those things.
No, that's awesome. And that's very helpful just for the listener to understand. Like you spent time understanding, hey, this is the gap in the market. This is what everything is catered to because, yeah, most credit cards, when you're looking, it's travel, dining, and what you just mentioned. And sometimes there's specific ones, but then for the average person, right, most people who listen to the show are trying to figure out, okay, what's the best strategy? But for the average person, they're not trying to have a fat stack of 15 cards in their wallet, trying to figure out, right, what is getting the best multiplier in their day to day. So for Hey, I wanted to take a quick break to say thank you so much for tuning into the show. The only way the show grows is through listeners like you helping us share it. So if you're enjoying the show, it'd mean the world to me if you hit that 5-star rating, shared it with a friend or family member who's ready to travel more, save money, or just needs a little bit more inspiration and that nudge. And if you're posting about it on Instagram, go ahead and tag Itinerary Boss, and we'll make sure to reshare it and shout you out for giving us a shout out. Thanks so much for the support. It truly means a lot. And now back with the show. My audience who they're mainly are looking to buy a home. They're starting to have kids. They have daycare expenses. We were just on the lake the other day and someone's telling us how much they're spending on daycare and my jaw just dropped. I'm like, that's just as much or more than a mortgage. So it is, and then pets, and we'll get into some of the details, but just how you guys have built out your product. And when you go through some stuff that you'll mention just around like Thumbtack, Costco, just all of the Lowe's where people are, doing things around the home, it breaks it down and makes it very, very attractive. I think one question that a lot of people have asked me when they are renting and they're like, hey, how do I get points on my rent? They always ask about the process just around earning the points. So I guess for you guys, right, with a mortgage, is someone paying their actual mortgage to the bank that they have their loan with, or how does that work to then be able to earn those points?
Yes, it's a great question. So you don't actually put your mortgage on a credit card for a number of reasons. The way it works is when you would sign up for the Mesa Homeowners Card, you would get approved. You would then provide some information around your current mortgage and mortgage statement and payments. And so we verify that information that you are you and the amounts and all of those things, which allows you to earn rewards on that payment, but it's not actually going on a credit line. Basically, your mortgage payment still takes place the exact same way it does today. So it's a very low friction experience for the end consumer.
Okay. Okay. That that's simple. What about people who have several properties? So if they're a real estate investor, if is it possible to get multiple cards or do you just one card? How's that all work?
Yeah, right now we sort of limit you to one mortgage or primary residence. Obviously, that is a very interesting group, right? Of people that invest in a lot of properties. They're obviously, very interesting customers. So we're working through different ways where we can provide more value to that consumer. But right now, we sort of ask that you just kind of pick your primary residence.
Okay, so that would go to if there was a husband and wife, if one was on the mortgage on one and then another.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, 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 cool. Yeah, just want to clarify because some people might think, hey, I can run out and get five cards right now, and then they get done listening and then they're like, what
No,
the
yeah.
heck?
No, and obviously it is a credit card, right? So you
Yeah.
always got to make sure you're using your judgment when applying for a financial product.
Exactly. Exactly. Cool. No, appreciate you clarifying that. So let's turn to just like the home projects, people who write, because sometimes people purchase a home. If they aren't buying it new, they have to then do decor, or sometimes people just really like doing that. So do you mind just walking through, how people can earn on some of those projects and what might be some special areas of earning?
Yeah, for sure. And so, I think like that, applies both to our card, but also to our mortgage business. So, what we see a lot with people that are, particularly buying a home, right? When you get a mortgage, like that's a moment where you're likely going to spend on one or two or both things, which is home improvement and home decor, right? Like you buy a new home, you're going to want to make improvements or you're going to want to furnish it, right? And so, that's where a lot of our redemption options around, all of the different ways you can redeem those points with brands that are relevant to home decor or home improvement are important. Now on the card front, and sort of your everyday maintenance or repairs, like that is where we went out and make sure we got the right partners to maximize the amount of value that our customers can get. So like great example is Lowe's. So we have a statement credit for our members at Lowe's so that you can get $120 a year or $30 a quarter when you would make purchases for home improvement needs or Lowe's obviously has everything, but that's just one example of kind of meeting our customer where they are. So we want to make sure we're very thoughtful with folks of where do you actually spend your money as a homeowner, and then make sure we have the right benefits and rewards to support that. So Lowe's around home improvement, Thumbtack for home services. And, another big one is the big box membership. Like that is an area where we knew our customer sought a lot of value. Like we didn't want to give you another free TSA pre-check because frankly, like that's just not relevant to our consumer. Now there's a group that's very relevant for, and if you're a business traveler, like there's a ton of great programs for you. But if you're a homeowner and you spend a lot on your home and the things in it, we want to make sure that this is the best card for you.
Yeah, 100%. I'm laughing because I have a bunch of cards that I probably have $1,000 with a TSA pre and global global entry credits that that got accomplished with the with one card.
Yeah, I know. And now, there's a random aside, but I travel a bunch in the Austin airport. The clear and TSA pre-check lines are now as long as the other ones because everybody signs up. So when everyone is pre-check, no one is, but
Yeah.
that's a whole different issue.
Yeah, no, I was running through the math and just from like a buying perspective from just right thumbtack. I mean, when we've moved in, it's always been okay, what how do we want to furnish it? How can we get, is there a welcome bonus? What are we going to get the most points out of? But this right now is great because you can think through those statement credits of Lowe's, you're gonna need something from there. Thumbtack, every property that we've ever purchased, we have a guy that we go to for Thumbtack because I tried to build one entertainment center once and I realized that was not what I'm good at. So I'm sure you've read the book by Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time. That's I
Yeah.
I use Thumbtack religiously. So that's a really good one. But yeah, I love what you guys have done. And two, I know for our pet owners, I think you have a dog and we have a 2.5-year-old English bulldog. So the statement credit around Farmer's Dog, I love that I saw that as well.
Yeah, I mean that's my personal favorite. So yeah, I have a 2.5-year-old chocolate lab who may burst into this call at any moment, as he's known to do. But yeah, I mean that one is a great example of we saw that this customer, you kind of mentioned daycare as well. Like they spend a lot on their pets and kids, and so we wanted to make sure we had great benefits there. And so like daycare is an elevated category for us, is one that our customers are very excited about as well because that again, and you kind of hit on it, in some cases is more than your mortgage payment. And so, those are the types of things that we really want to build intentionally for this kind of emerging millennial mom and dad, who is where, that is the most important consumer in the economy, in my opinion, where a lot of the wealth sits, where a lot of the purchasing decisions are made. But, they're not necessarily that, urban 27-year-old in Manhattan that spends a lot on travel and dining. They just kind of spend on different things. And like pets are a great example. And, the farmer's dog benefit is one that I certainly use every month. And I know is very popular with a lot of pet owners as well.
Yeah, we thought about batch making food for our dogs just from a health standpoint, and then we realized Sunday that it's tough to even batch make your own food. So when I saw the farmer's dog benefit, I was like, okay, that's another just absolute selling point.
Yeah, I mean, his grocery bill is more than mine, but that is the joy of being a dog owner.
Yep, yep. That's too funny. What about so when are there elevated points offers? So if someone's wanting to do painting, plumbing, if they have any sort of general contracting, if they're doing work on their house, are there any points multipliers there? Or what does that look like?
Yeah, so generally for the card, the sort of point structure would be, 1x points on your mortgage payment and all base spend, and then 2x on what we call everyday spend of gas and groceries and EV charging, and then 3x in what we call home related spend. And so that is a, broad category that includes things like home improvement and decor and landscaping services, HOAs, So it would depend probably on the specific merchant, but that's one of the things our support team is really good at. If folks can write in and say, hey, look, this local, home improvement store is not listed in your category, and we can kind of adjust that. But yeah, generally what we want to accomplish there is, hey, if you're investing in your home, we want to give you the most value for that.
Yeah, yeah, no, and when I saw some of those, that was really helpful because I mean, when I look at my card stack, when you start to look at different ones like American Express going to Costco, they don't take that. So being able to get two times the points since it is a Visa card on that, that's nice because then if you're combining that with a lot of the other stuff that you probably have with your significant other, like that makes it a lot easier. And then also just being able to get those multipliers for 3x on all of those is amazing. So that's yeah. When I saw and since it's a Visa, that it makes it better for Costco. So yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely love that.
Yeah, I mean that was Visa's been a great partner, and that was a big reason for choosing them. Was that was something we heard from our members that that's a brand that they really really care about.
Yeah, no, that's and when I talk to people personally, I always ask, "What's the best card to get?" And it's like, "How much time do you have?" But the people who Mesa is perfect for are those they're having kids. And I always ask, "Are you shopping at Costco?" Because this is going to change the where this conversation goes. So this is just this product fits great for someone who does a lot of their shopping at Costco. So let's dive into just like full loans because I think this is something too that I dove a little bit deeper into and saw, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but you can earn up to one times the points on your entire loan value of your mortgage if you qualify. Can you kind of talk me through how that process works?
Sure. Yeah. So that would be for the Mesa mortgage product, where you would get a mortgage through us as a licensed mortgage broker. And so, yes, like if you were to get a mortgage through us or refinance your home, you earn 1 point per dollar on the loan at closing. And so, $1 million mortgage, you just got 1 million points that you can redeem in the same way you can redeem all your other Mesa points. So it just gives you a really big lump sum of value and sort of a one-time moment that otherwise would take you a very long time to earn if you were trying to earn credit card points of spending on a card, for example. And so the spirit of that is like that is, for most people, the biggest transaction they're ever going to make in their life. And a lot of that money right now doesn't go to the homeowner, it goes to the various middlemen. And so we want to give that value back. So that's the product, honestly, I'm most excited about because it's so differentiated out there, and that, we as an independent broker are able to broker that loan and get you the most, competitive rates out there and give you a huge slug of value on top of that, which is going to make your home way more affordable and rewarding.
Yeah, yeah, we're waiting for rates to come down so we can refi. So I think this conversation is
Yeah, yeah. You and everybody else. Yeah.
right. How would someone, are there specific parameters that someone would need to qualify, or like how does that work?
Yeah, so the first step would just be, speaking to someone on our team, one of our loan officers around that, and they would get the information needed, what sort of loan, all of that pertinent information in order to, have you fill out the application. It'd be sort of similar process if you've gone through getting a mortgage or refinancing your home in the past. It would just be through us and obviously with the potential to earn rewards on the other side of it.
Okay. Okay. That is that's very helpful. And then I'm just thinking through, right? And just if someone has $500,000 loan and they get that one times the points, I mean, that's a lot. That's, that's a couple welcome offers from, bigger, just bigger, just welcome offers from different cards. With loyalty programs, like how does that then work? Because, or is it like, hey, I have these points and then I can redeem these for cash? Or do you guys have like, obviously you guys have transfer partners, but like, can you kind of walk me through what you're really excited about?
Yeah, definitely. So in that scenario, where say you got a $500,000 mortgage, you would get 500,000 points, and then you can redeem those in the same way you would redeem your Mesa points that you earned on the card or any other way, right? And so you could book travel with those. You could use it towards a million brands for gift cards. You could transfer it to another loyalty program and be a transfer partner. So again, that 500,000 points can be call it $5,000 worth of value potentially or more, right? Depending on how you redeem those. So I agree, it is a huge amount of value, which, you could, furnish your, house for that much or go on vacation for 2 years. So there's just a lot of value you can get out of that, which again, just historically has not been the case when getting a mortgage or refinancing your home. That has, sort of not been given back to the homeowner. And so in the same way, credit card companies and other, brands like airlines and hotels kind of vie for your loyalty and give you value back. We want to do that same thing for that really important, the biggest transaction of your life.
Yeah, yeah. And there's for listeners, I'm sure you're listening to this. I wouldn't suggest redeeming them for gift cards. I obviously if you're listening to it, you're probably wanting to travel, trying to realize how do you maximize those points. So that is, I mean, if you're just doing simple math, let's just call it 500,000 points, then you start to earn right on your monthly loan or your monthly mortgage. Then you start to pay for daycare. Like those can add up pretty significantly. And then you can transfer to some of the best transfer partners, like Air Canada. I know Finnair is one that you guys recently announced. And then SAS is one, I've found a lot of good availability, like for people who are wanting to go to Iceland. Are there any others that you guys have currently?
Yeah, so we've got a bunch which you can check out in the app. I don't have the exact list in front of me, but I know we've been adding a bunch over the last couple of months, and then we've got some really exciting bigger partners we're going to add over the next couple of months as well. So those both from transfer partners like that, we have some really exciting new big benefit partners we're going to bring on as well. So can't share any details just yet, but we will have a bunch of news, and that is just something that we're always focused on is how do we add more and more redemption options and more value to our members because that is really why we're here.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm excited to hear those and see what comes out because yeah, once we get the card, Air Canada is something that we're actually looking at when we plan our trip to go to South Africa next year. So it's
I love it, man.
yeah, I'm already thinking through how do we use it, but it's also
Okay.
figuring out how do people who get the card understand, okay, once I have these points, I have all these, how do I redeem them? And that's our goal is helping them understand that.
Yeah, no, certainly, and I think there's a lot of options like that, which your listeners will be familiar with, of transfer partners and different ways to redeem. We also have some interesting sort of proprietary ones that are unique to Mesa that we've launched as well. So, for example, we give you the ability to apply your Mesa points towards your mortgage payment as well. So, really kind of reinvesting it in your home. So, we want to give people more and better options in terms of their points, which makes the points more valuable, makes their home more affordable and rewarding. So that's something we're just constantly always working on.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So if someone had 30,000 points, would that equate to a $3,000 mortgage statement, or would that be 300,000? How would that all work?
I'm not sure on the exact conversion of those things,
Okay.
but yeah, you'd be able to apply it to the mortgage payment itself.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. That's something definitely we'll want to share more with our listeners. That's pretty cool. What about HELOCs and any other products that you guys are offering?
Yeah, so we as a broker have the ability to get someone a HELOC or a HELOan, depending on where you are, if you want one. We're working on future products that we would launch to be able to give, benefits and rewards around, whether that's the transaction itself, insurance, warranty, et cetera. So that is certainly on the roadmap of where we want to go. So, long term, when you would need a financial product for your home, you would want to go to Mesa because you're going to get the best value, you're going to get a ton of value back. And so that's really where we're going longer term, starting with, credit cards and mortgages to start.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. Are there any, since I know you guys launched, it was pretty recently, but just with the card, are there any big wins just from people who have come out, whether it was creative transfer partners, big redemptions, putting it back towards like, I guess just hearing some of the wins to make it real for the audience.
Yeah, I think a couple of things definitely come to mind. Daycare is one that people are really excited about because, that's one that again is more than a lot of people's mortgage payment is what they're spending on daycare. And so that's a big win for moms and dads everywhere for sure. And then I think, yeah, another one that we see is really interesting is just sort of the home related spend. Like, we saw somebody spent, 15 grand on a roof, and just got a ton of value for that they otherwise wouldn't have gotten. So I think, people are seeing a lot of value from their home, home related spend, whether that's home improvement or decor or whatever. So those are certainly two big ones that stand out. I think that, are really starting to resonate well with consumers.
Yeah. Okay. I'm thinking through. So if someone, because someone probably has this question, if someone were to get a mortgage from you guys, and obviously when you're going through that process, you don't want to open up a credit card until after you close. Would they then, if they had big expenses they knew coming up, would they be able to open a card with you guys a few days later, with that mortgage, or is there like a product that offers kind of a bundle like that?
Yeah, so they would be separate. So yeah, you're right. Like, typically you don't want to do any sort of hard pull on your credit while you're going through a mortgage application. But yes, there is, typically a period after that, which would make sense. And, our card, it's great for the new homeowner or somebody who just, refinance their home of whether it's improvement or decor or whatever. So, we think those two things tie really well together of, hey, I just, got a mortgage or a new home. I then got a ton of value to use towards decor or improvement or whatever, and then you want to keep earning value by making your mortgage payment each month, all your kind of everyday recurring spend of your groceries, your home improvement spend. So those should kind of meet homeowners really where they spend of sort of these big one-off moments like getting a mortgage, but also just that every month expense of being a homeowner, which you probably know better than me, is something that adds up and never ever goes away.
Well, I like it because as you're saying all of this, right? Like obviously I'm in the credit card points and miles game, so this comes naturally to me. But like I said on the front end, it's like just having a one-stop shop where you aren't having to be like, all right, which card is this? And hey, I had a former guest who she puts a sticky note on her husband's business card of like, this is shipping, this is this. So like, how do you, right? How do you make it simple and for people who just want to earn points, and then as they slowly learn how to transfer those, redeem those, like you guys are doing a phenomenal job, which is awesome. I'm excited to definitely get the card and start using it. What about one other question um, around daycare? What about if someone has a nanny at home or an au pair? Like, does that qualify, or is that something on the horizon that would qualify?
Yeah, so it's something we're working on. So right now, obviously, it's anywhere where a Visa product is accepted.
Okay.
And so we've been working a lot with the Visa team just around how do we broaden that? Because, not every daycare will take a credit card. And then there's examples like that of, nannies is a good example of that. So certainly something we see as a big, area of opportunity where we could give more value to homeowners because, a lot of what a homeowner will spend their money on are their, pets and kids. So not quite yet, but it is definitely something, in the future we want to figure out how to make work.
Okay. Okay. Cool. And for people who are thinking through that, something that I use is I use a if someone doesn't take card, like for example, I just had to make a bigger expense and pay that just for someone who takes check, was just using things like plastic. They charge 2.9% fee, but I look at the points, redeeming it worth it. And then a lot of the times business owners specifically don't, sometimes if they're in real estate and they're paying general contractors or they're buying supplies, they sometimes they won't take check or cash, and when we've done flips or things like that, that's where I work with a lot of developers and our clients just around, hey, looking at the 2.9% fee, if that's through Melio, does that outweigh the cost of what you're going to get? And a lot of the times it does if you know how to use those points. So that's something I wanted to throw in there. But yeah, if you guys are coming out with a way for homeowners specifically to not have to do that, that would be awesome.
Well, you are the points and miles expert, so I will take your word for it.
I try. Is there any one strategy right now who just wants to keep it simple and just start to earn points with Mesa? What would you recommend they do?
I would say, sign up for the Mesa Homeowners Card. No, I mean, again, I think, credit cards are a personal decision. It's a financial product, right? It's an important thing to consider. So I would say, if you are a business traveler, and you spend a lot on travel and dining, like there's a ton of great programs out there that I'm sure your following knows about. But if you're a homeowner and you spend a lot on your home and the things in it, our commitment is that, we want to make this the best card for you. And this is where you would want to go. And yeah, not have to worry about how you're optimizing and getting the most value. We want to make sure you're getting the most value from Mesa, whether that's, now when you're making your mortgage payment, or, shopping at a Lowe's, or when you need a mortgage or you want to refi your home, or, down the road if you want to get a warranty, or, whatever it may be. So, that's certainly our North Star. So that would be, how I would view it.
Awesome. Well, Kelly, I really appreciate you coming on. This has been really valuable. I'm excited to share the personal referral code in the show notes with our listeners. And where can everyone find you, and what's the best way to follow you?
Yeah, so I appreciate you having me. This was great. Yeah, the best place, you'll check us out at mesamember.com, and that is a good place to start. And obviously, if you need help with anything, our team is always here to answer questions or share more info.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you coming on. Listeners, if this is your first time tuning in, make sure you give us a follow or subscribe. That way you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. Make sure you share this with a family or friend, especially if they're a homeowner, have daycare, or just looking to start maximizing their points in this way. And give us a 5-star review. I think Kelly deserves one, and really looking forward to helping you guys out. And we will talk to you next week. Thanks for tuning in.